Hello, Pasangala. A very good evening to all of you watching this live. This is your master teacher, Nivetha, making bio learning very simplified just for all of you guys. தெய்வத்தால் ஆகாதினர் முயற்சிதன் மெய்வருத்து கூலி தரும். Even if it is the most impossible task, work, try hard and you will definitely reach your goal one or the other day, பசங்களா. So, வணக்கம் and welcome to the session. இன்னைக்கு நம்ம செஷன்ல என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்னா, we are going to talk about neural control and coordination, updated syllabus update பார்க்க போறோம். So NCERT line by line பார்க்க போறோம், PYQs பார்க்க போறோம். இந்த மூணு கான்செப்ட்ஸ் இன்னைக்கு full chapter full-ஆ முடிச்சிடலாம் பசங்களா. So before I get into the session, hi, a very good evening. Before I get into the session, we have exclusive Republic Day offer, 26% discount on all Vedantu offline courses in centers near you in Tiruchi, Coimbatore, Chennai and Madurai. So எந்த ஒரு கோர்ஸ் நீங்க ஜாயின் பண்ணாலும் உங்களுக்கு 26% flat discount கிடைக்க போகுது பசங்களா. And this offer is valid only till Jan 31st. Hurry up. அதை தவிர யாரெல்லாம் நம்மளோட ஆஃப்லைன் ஒர்க் ஷாப்ஸ் அட்டென்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்களோ அவங்களுக்கு அடிஷ்னலாக 10% டிஸ்கவுண்ட் கிடைக்க போகுது. ஸோ 26 plus 10%, it is going to be 36%. It's a very good offer பசங்களா. Don't miss the chance. Go get yourself registered. ஸோ இன்னைக்கு நம்ம செஷனுக்குள்ள போகலாம் பசங்களா. Let's get into the most interesting session, that is neural control and coordination, human physiology, NCERT line by line with PYQs is what we are going to discuss. Okay, so முதல்ல syllabus update பார்த்துடலாமா? Does anyone know what is the syllabus? யாருக்கா தெரியுமா? There is no sense organs delete பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. Eyes and ears is not there in 2024 syllabus, and you also don't have that reflex arc, reflex action. That part is also not there in your syllabus. So ரொம்ப easy ஆக்கிட்டாங்க neural control and coordination. So what you guys have to study, you have to study about the nerves and the neurons. You guys have to study the types of the nervous system, peripheral nervous system, okay, central nervous system, visceral nervous system, and most importantly, generation and conduction of nerve impulse, high, and you are also going to discuss about brain pasangla. இதெல்லாம் தான் நம்ம இன்னைக்கு செஷன்ல பார்க்க போறோம். Okay, so without any further delay, let's get into the session. We'll see how from the lines they can ask you question, and let's keep it very easy. Yes. First, in the session la நம்ம என்னெல்லாம் பார்க்க போறோம், what you can expect from today's session: nervous system, types, neurons, the structure and types, generation and conduction of nerve impulse, ரொம்ப முக்கியம், நிறைய பேர் கன்ஃபியூஸ் ஆகக்கூடிய ஒரு டாபிக், transmission of nerve impulse, brain and PYQs. So I am discussing PYQs only related to NEET 2024 syllabus pasangla. Okay, shall we get into the session? Can I get a victory sign in the chat box? முதல்ல coordination na enna, control na enna, ரைட்? ஸோ ஒரு கம்பெனி இருக்கு பசங்களா, அந்த கம்பெனியோட ஆர்கனைசேஷன் ஹெட் தானே அதை எல்லாமே கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணுவாரு, அதை எல்லாமே கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணுவாரு. அதே மாதிரி தான் நம்ம பாடியில இருக்க எல்லா ஆக்டிவிட்டிஸையும் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணி கோஆர்டினேட் பண்றது ரெண்டு முக்கியமான சிஸ்டம் பசங்களா. ஹாய் ஜெயபிரகாஷ். ரெண்டு முக்கியமான சிஸ்டம், ஒன்று வந்து நர்வஸ் சிஸ்டம் பசங்களா, இன்னொன்று வந்து எண்டோக்ரைன் சிஸ்டம். ஓகே, ஸோ எண்டோக்ரைன் சிஸ்டம் பத்தி நம்ம இன்னொரு லைவ்ல பார்க்கலாம். இன்னைக்கு நம்ம பார்க்க போறது நர்வஸ் சிஸ்டம். ஸோ வாட் இஸ் திஸ் homeostasis? There is one term called homeostasis. Homeostasis, hi Gayu, hi. So homeostasis na enna pasangla? Can anyone watching the live tell me what is homeostasis? It is the maintenance of constant internal environment. நம்ம உடம்புக்குள்ள எல்லாமே கான்ஸ்டன்ட்டா மெயின்டைன் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கணும். டெம்பரேச்சர் ஆகட்டும், ப்ரெஷர் ஆகட்டும், பிஹெச் ஆகட்டும், அது எல்லாமே ஒரே மாதிரி மெயின்டைன் ஆகணும்னா ரெண்டு முக்கியமான சிஸ்டம் தேவை. ஒன்று வந்து உங்க நர்வஸ், இன்னொன்று வந்து எண்டோக்ரைன் சிஸ்டம். ஸோ தட் இஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் பசங்களா. கோஆர்டினேஷன்னா என்ன பசங்களா? ஆல் த ஆர்கன்ஸ் ஒர்க் ஆஸ் அ டீம். கரெக்டா? இப்போ ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன் எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா ஐடி டீம் இருக்கும், ஹெச்ஆர் டீம் இருக்கும், அக்கௌண்ட்ஸ் டீம் இருக்கும். அவங்க எல்லாம் சேர்ந்துதானே ஒரு டீம் ஆகி ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன் பண்றாங்க. அதே மாதிரி தான் பசங்களா in our body all the organs function as a team. It's called a team work. Say for example, your circulatory system and your respiratory system, they work hand in hand. Your circulatory system and your excretory system, they work hand in hand. ஆமாவா இல்லையா பசங்களா? Yes, everything here works hand in hand so that I can stand here and talk and I can do my day-to-day activities. Okay, so in the brain the head of your entire body or your nervous system is the head of the entire body pasangla. புரிஞ்சதா? Did everyone understand? This is an introduction to your nervous system. Okay, so in the endocrine system எப்படி வந்து control பண்ணோம் via hormones. Okay, our nervous system எப்படி வந்து control பண்ணோம் via neurons. Okay, so neurons help in the control and coordination of all the activities பசங்களா. Okay, இப்போ நம்ம let's talk about human neural system. இங்க பாக்குறீங்கல்ல இது ஒரு real image பசங்களா. From your brain how the nerves are coming up. Okay, you have something called as somatic neural system, peripheral neural system, atomic neural system. அது எல்லாத்த பத்தியும் clear-ஆ படிக்கலாம் பசங்களா. So when you enter your first year MBBS as in your anatomy lab, you will be given to understand all this. Real-ஆ நீங்க எல்லாம் பார்க்க போறீங்க, right? So get excited and start your preparation. So இப்போ நம்ம முக்கியமான விஷயம் இந்த ஹியூமன் நியூரல் சிஸ்டம் ரெண்டு விதமா பிரிக்கப்படுது பசங்களா. ஒன்னு வந்து சென்ட்ரல் நியூரல் சிஸ்டம், இன்னொன்னு வந்து பெரிஃபெரல் நியூரல் சிஸ்டம். Central neural system na enna? It passes exactly through the center of my body. It passes through the central axis of my body. Adha na central nervous system nu solren illa central neural system nu solren. Peripheral na enna pasangala? They pass through the peripheries. Okay, if this is my body, you can see here, these are all your peripheral nerves. Okay, இப்போ என்னோட CNSல there are two important structures, that is your brain and spinal cord. Okay, so your central nervous system consists of what பசங்களா? Brain and spinal cord. இத மட்டும் மறந்துட கூடாது பசங்களா. So you have in your syllabus complete information regarding brain. Spinal cord வந்து உங்க syllabusல கிடையாது. You just have brain. Okay, இப்போ PNS, periphery என்ன? வெளியே, right? Outskirts or extremities. Okay, so there has to be neurons that is passed to each and every part of your body. என்னோட கைக்கு, என்னோட ஸ்டொமக்கு, என்னோட ஹார்ட்டுக்கு, என்னோட லிவருக்கு எல்லா இடத்துலயும் nerves வந்து போணும், கரெக்டா? And that is provided by my PNS. Okay, so PNS is consisting of two important fibers. One வந்து afferent fiber, இன்னொன்று வந்து efferent fibers. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of afferent and efferent? Afferent na enna pasangala? Efferent na enna? Afferent, efferent. நிறைய பேருக்கு confuse ஆகக்கூடிய terms. Okay, afferent ரொம்ப easy. They carry impulse towards the CNS. From tissue to the CNS. Okay, so இது வந்து என்னோட CNS, central nervous system. இது வந்து என்னோட tissues na, it carries impulse from the tissue to the CNS. That is called afferent. புரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க பசங்களா, ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். அது efferent na, from the CNS to the tissues. Okay, if this is clear, please do give me a victory sign in the chat box. This is very important. Afferent fibers, efferent fibers, they constitute your PNS. உங்க peripheral nervous systemல ரெண்டு விதமான fibers இருக்கு. ஒன்னு வந்து afferent fibers, இன்னொன்னு வந்து efferent fibers. Okay, இப்போ நம்ம the types of peripheral nervous system பார்க்கலாம். Okay, yes. So what is this peripheral nervous system? PNS. நம்ம abbreviate பண்ணிக்கலாம், so it will become easy to remember. It's divided into SNS, somatic neural system, and autonomic neural system. Okay, somatic, autonomic, இன்னொன்னு இருக்கு visceral neural system. Okay, somatic neural system, visceral neural system, and atomic neural system. Okay, so first let's talk about somatic neural system. இங்கே கொடுத்திருக்காங்க பசங்களா. The somatic neural system relays impulse from the CNS to skeletal muscle. Okay, just imagine you're touching a hot object, immediately you withdraw your hand. Right, what is happening there? There's a reflex action, right? இப்போ இந்த பெண்ணை நான் கீழே போட்டுறேன், immediately what my brain will say? To pick up that pen. So what? There has to be the nerve stimulation that will stimulate my muscles. Okay, only if I think I have to walk, I will walk. Okay, so this SNS carry impulse from the CNS to skeletal muscle பசங்களா. இதுதான் ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். skeletal muscle க்கு தான் அது information கொண்டு போகும். Okay, then ANS na enna ma'am? What is ANS? It's called autonomic nervous system. Okay, it carries impulse from the CNS to the involuntary organ. Can anyone tell me what are the involuntary organs? CNS to involuntary organs or smooth muscles. Involuntary organs or smooth muscles. Okay, so involuntary organs includes your heart, It includes your elementary canal, right from your mouth to anus. Okay, that is very, very important, pasangla. Ellarku purunjuda. What is the difference between somatic and what is autonomic? So the somatic controls voluntary movement, okay, and your anus, that is your autonomic nervous system, controls your involuntary movements. Very, very important. Okay, so in the autonomic nervous system la, in the ANS la rendu vidham irukku pasangala. ANS has two types. Okay, one is sympathetic. Okay, sympathetic. Other one is parasympathetic. Can anyone remember something from chemical coordination and integration related to sympathetic and parasympathetic? What is this sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves? Okay, I will give you an example, pasangla. So suddenly you are hearing a very bad news, or you are meeting with an accident, just touch wood. Okay, so அப்படி நீங்க ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு எமர்ஜென்சி சிச்சுவேஷன்ல உங்க பாடியில என்ன ஆகும்? What will happen to your body? Your adrenal glands will produce emergency hormone, right? Adrenaline and noradrenaline. That adrenaline and noradrenaline is associated with your autonomic nervous system. Yes, they are associated with what? Autonomic nervous system. So this hormone called adrenaline activates my sympathetic nerves. So எனக்கு சடனா ஹார்ட் பீட் அதிகமாகும். There will be increase in my breathing rate. I'll have piloerection. My hairs will stand straight. All this will happen. My body is getting prepared for emergency situation. So sympathetic nerves play a very, very vital role. கொஞ்ச நேரம் கழிச்சு உங்க பாடி திருப்பி நார்மல் ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு வரணும். Obviously vande varanum, right? So at that time this parasympathetic nerves will play a very, very important role. So they are antagonistic in function. Sympathetic nerves prepares your body for emergency situation. Parasympathetic nerve brings back your body from emergency situation. புரிஞ்சதா பசங்களா? எல்லாருக்கும் இந்த ANS ஓட function புரிஞ்சதா? Autonomic nervous system. Very, very, very important. Okay. So the last one here we have is visceral nervous system. What is this viscera? Can anyone tell me? Viscera na enna pasangla? What do you mean by viscera or visceral? Visceral organs or viscera. It is nothing but all the important internal organs in my body, okay, like my lungs, heart, stomach, digestive system, kidney, they are all called as visceral organs, right? So in the visceral organs ku and the nerve supply theva. So who is giving that? That is given by visceral nervous system, pasangla. So it comprises of nerves, fibers, ganglia and plexus. There are different kinds of nerves. Okay, this is very, very important. They transmit impulse from the CNS to the viscera and from the viscera to the CNS. Okay, so unga viscera lendu CNS ko, okay, unga CNS lendu back to viscera they transmit impulse. Okay, that's about your nervous system, pasangla. So confuse agave thevilla. Okay, so nervous system is classified into CNS and PNS, central nervous system and PNS. Okay, now PNS is classified into ANS, SNS and VNS. Okay, purunjada? Can we continue now? So now we will move on to the most important part of the chapter, that is neuron. Okay, so the neuron na enna, what are the different types of neuron is what we are going to discuss. Okay, so CNS la unga brain and spinal cord varudhu. Yes, now we shall continue. Romba mukkiyam pasangala, structure of neuron. Okay, many a times you guys have been studying this from 7th standard. ICSE, CBSE la 7th, 8th la idu start pannitaanga. Okay, so neuron na enna pasangala? This is a real image of a neuron. This is how your neuron looks like. Okay, so what does a neuron contain? Neuron contain three important structure: cell body, it contains axon and it contains dendrite. Okay, இந்த மூணு தான் ரொம்ப முக்கியமான parts of a neuron. Okay, and they are the structural and functional unit of your nervous system. And what is this cell body? முதல்ல இந்த cell body பத்தி பார்க்கலாம். இந்த cell body நம்ம என்னன்னு கூட சொல்றோம்னா we call it as soma. Okay, cell body is also called soma. அதுல என்னென்ன இருக்குன்னா it has a nucleus, Okay, you can see a darkly stained nucleus and it has Nissel's granules. Rombo rombo mukkyo, right? What is Nissel's granule pasangla? Nissel's granule are nothing but ribosomal RNA and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, they are modified rRNA and rough endoplasmic reticulum that will help in protein synthesis. Okay, so Nissel granule edhukku help pannadhu pasangla? Protein synthesis ku help pannadhu. புரிஞ்சதா? Everyone got it still here? Any doubts still here? Okay. இப்போ வந்து இந்த நியூக்ளியஸ்ல இருந்து இந்த செல் பாடியில இருந்து you have certain cytoplasmic projections. Okay. Those cytoplasmic short projections are called dendrites. Okay. So dendrites என்றது என்ன பசங்களா? They are short cytoplasmic projections that arise from the cell body. Okay, and one more thing, what is the function of this dendrite? Dendrite carry impulse towards the cell body. Okay, இங்க இருந்து ஏதோ ஒரு நியூரான்ல இருந்து ஒரு impulse வருதுன்னா this dendrite carry impulse towards the cell body or towards the neuron. That is very, very important. Okay, so carry impulse towards neuron. Okay, புரிஞ்சதா பசங்களா? Or cell body. Yes. Now, one of the dendrite grows very long. நிறைய பேருக்கு axons க்கு dendrites க்கு confusion இருக்கும். Dendrites என்றது குட்டி குட்டி structure. The longest dendrite, you can remember it like that. The longest dendrite is called axon. Okay, and this axon continues and ends in an axon terminal. அதுக்கு ஒரு axon terminal இருக்கும். And this axon terminal, you can see, it ends up in a knob-like structure, and that knob-like structure is called synaptic knob. Okay, இதெல்லாம் தான் நீங்க first clear ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்க வேண்டியது. Cell body, dendrite ஆயிடுச்சு, axon ஆயிடுச்சு. இப்போ சில axonsல, very few axons have something called as squam cells. என்ன cells பசங்களா? Squam cells which lines the entire axon. You can see here. You can see the squam cell. The squam cell will line the entire axon. That is very, very important. And over this squam cell, you will have something called as myelin sheath. என்ன சொல்றாங்க அத? myelin sheath ன்னு சொல்றோம். And the space, இந்த space இருக்குல்ல, இந்த குட்டி குட்டியான space இருக்குல்ல, அந்த space வந்து நம்ம node of Ranvier ன்னு சொல்றோம். Okay, மூணு முக்கியமான terms, squam cells, myelin sheath, node of Ranvier. Okay, what is node of Ranvier? It is a space that is present between the two squam cells. Okay, can I continue pasangala? With this knowledge we will try to understand how are the neurons classified. Okay, what are bipolar, what are unipolar, what are multipolar neurons. Yes, okay, yeah. இப்போ நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி each branch terminates as a bulb like structure called synaptic knob. Okay, yes, இந்த synaptic knobல என்னப்பா இருக்கு? What does this synaptic knob consist of? This knob like structure is there, no? This synaptic knob constitutes of neurotransmitters. Okay, ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம். Ma'am, இந்த neurotransmittersனா என்ன ma'am? They are simply chemicals that helps in transmission of impulse from one neuron to another neuron. That is very, very important. Okay, neurotransmitter example, GABA. Okay, then you have glycine. Okay, then you have acetylcholine. இதெல்லாம் சில examples for neurotransmitters. Okay, புரிஞ்சதா பசங்களா? இது வரைக்கும் புரிஞ்சதா? Yes, the axon transmit nerve impulse away from the cell body to a synapse or to a neuromuscular junction. I told you, dendrite will capture impulse towards the cell body. Okay, axon will capture impulse away from the cell body. That is very, very, very important. Okay, so based on the number of axon and dendrite, the neurons are of 3 types. This is very, very important. Multiple times they have asked. Okay, ஒன்னு வந்து multipolar, இன்னொன்னு வந்து bipolar. Okay, இன்னொன்னு வந்து unipolar. Okay, so that is very important. இத மட்டும் இங்கேயே படிச்சிருங்க. So what is multipolar? They have one axon and you have more dendrites. ஒரு axon, நிறைய dendrites, just like this, right? It has one axon and it has multiple dendrites. That is what we call it as multipolar. Okay, So one axon, many dendrites. And where are they located? That is also important. They can ask you, multipolar neurons are located dash. Where are they located? They are located in the cerebral cortex. So this was a PYQ pasanga. இது நிறைய வாட்டி கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Okay, இது எங்க இருக்கு? It is present in your cerebral cortex. Okay, next you have bipolar, one axon, one dendrite. ஒரே ஒரு axon, ஒரே ஒரு dendrite. Okay, so we will put it as one axon. I want everyone to write it with me. Okay, one dendrite. So example of bipolar, it is present in the retina of your eyes. Okay, so what is this retina pasangla? It is the innermost layer of your eyes. Okay, it's a nervous layer. It contains these kind of bipolar neurons. Okay, so enga irukku retina la irukku. Next you have unipolar. Unipolar na enna? They have only one axon, cell body with only one axon. That means there are no dendrites. Where is it seen? It is seen in the embryonic stage. Okay, it is only one axon seen in embryonic stage. Okay, இத மட்டும் ஷார்ட்டா மார்க் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. நிறைய வாட்டி கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Clear? Can we continue? If this is clear, multipolar, bipolar and unipolar. Yes or no? Yes, embryonic stage, unipolar, embryonic stage, bipolar, retina, multipolar, cerebral cortex. Very good, very good. Okay, yes. Now we shall continue pasangla. இப்போ நம்ம next பார்க்க போறது, there are two types of axons. Axonsல வந்து ரெண்டு விதம் இருக்கு. ஒன்னு வந்து myelinated axon, இன்னொன்னு வந்து non myelinated axon. Okay, myelinated, non-myelinated. So can anyone watching the live tell me what is the difference between myelinated and non-myelinated? Myelinated na enna, non-myelinated na enna? Anybody? See, very simple. Myelinated, they have both squamous cells and myelin sheath. ரெண்டுமே இருக்கு அவங்க கிட்ட. Okay, they have squamous cells and myelin sheath. Here they have only squamous cells. Okay, so the myelinated nerve fibers are enveloped with squamous cell which form a myelin sheath. The gaps between the two adjacent sheaths are called node of Ranvier, which we already discussed. They are found in the spinal and cranial nerves. எங்க இருக்கு பசங்களா இந்த myelinated neurons? It is present in your spinal and cranial nerves. So can anyone tell me what are spinal and cranial nerves? யாருக்காவது தெரியுமா? What is spinal nerve and what is cranial nerves? And here you can see unmyelinated nerve fiber is enclosed. See, this is very important. It is enclosed by squamous cell but does not form a myelin sheath. They do not have a myelin sheath. Okay, and it is commonly found in your autonomic neural system and somatic neural system. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம். Okay, does not have a myelin sheath. Yes. Now I asked you something. What is cranial and spinal nerve? Cranial nerves are those which arise from the brain. Spinal nerves are those which arise from the spinal cord. Simple. Okay, so இந்த மாதிரி உங்க NCERT book பக்கத்திலே நீங்க ஒரு stick notesலயோ இதை எழுதி முடிச்சிட்டா போதும். You have decoded this entire part. And this is very very important PYQ பசங்களா. இதை மட்டும் மறந்துடாதீங்க ரிவைஸ் பண்றதுக்கு. Okay, so can we continue? I will ask some rapid fire questions. Okay, can we continue pasangla? So these were the types of neurons. Okay, இப்போ the most important information, generation of nerve impulse. Okay, இப்போ நீங்க ஒரு சூடான ஆப்ஜெக்ட்ஸ் அங்க ஒரு டச் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, the impulse has to be generated here. ஆமாவா இல்லையா? The nerves here needs to get excited. So no impulse, right? Nothing, your brain is not telling to you anything, then it is resting. Okay, if the brain is trying to tell you something, then the impulse is generated. Okay, இந்த impulseன்றது எப்படி நம்ம பார்க்கறோம்னா, it's an electric impulse பசங்களா. Many of the time it is an electric impulse that is generated. How this electric impulse is generated is very very important. நிறைய பேருக்கு confuse ஆகக்கூடிய topic. I will make it very very easy. Okay, so முதல்ல இது என்னப்பா? This is a resting neuron. ஒரு neuron நல்லா ரெஸ்ட் எடுத்துட்டு இருக்கு. Okay, what do you mean by resting neuron? Resting neuron na enna? Adukku no impulse. There is no impulse there. Okay, there is no external stimuli. That is what we call it as no impulse. Okay, so when a membrane is resting, okay, this is your axonal membrane. என்ன சொல்றாங்க இத? Axonal membrane ன்னு சொல்றாங்க. What is happening when a membrane is resting? What do you see, pasangla? Inside it is negatively charged. உள்ள ஃபுல்லாவே நெகட்டிவ் சார்ஜ் இருக்கு, வெளிய ஃபுல்லாவே பாசிட்டிவ் சார்ஜ் இருக்கு. Outside, imagine this is the axon. Inside the axon it is negative. Outside the axon it is positive. What is this state called? The positive and negative charge இருக்கு, அதை நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்? We call it as polarized state. Okay, so polarized is where outside it is outside it is positive and inside it is negative. This is what we call it as resting membrane potential. Okay, என்னன்னு சொல்றோம் இத? Resting membrane potential ன்னு சொல்றோம் பசங்களா. And how much is this resting membrane potential? This resting membrane potential is obviously negative, right? So negative na, it is minus 30 millivolt. Okay, ஏன் மேம் இது நெகட்டிவா இருக்கு? Why is this negative? Because பசங்களா, there are more potassium and more sodium outside. Sodium வந்து நிறைய வெளியே இருக்கு. Okay, here you have more potassium and many negatively charged proteins which are there inside. Okay, so that is what we are trying to tell here. In the lines எல்லாம் பார்த்து பயப்படாதீங்க. Okay, the axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ion. That means what? It is allowing more potassium ions inside. இப்போ சோடியமும் பொட்டாசியமும் எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா, sodium is more positively charged, potassium is less positively charged. Okay, remember that. And nearly impermeable to sodium ions. இங்க sodium ions உள்ள என்டரே ஆக முடியாது. You can see this. They are called sodium channel gates. Okay, the gate is locked. Gate lock ஆறனால உள்ள வர முடியுமா? வர முடியாது. So the sodium cannot enter. The axonal membrane is impermeable to sodium. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம். When the nerve is resting, but it is permeable to potassium. Permeable to potassium, impermeable to sodium. So when the neuron is at rest, it is negative inside and positive outside. It is what we call it as resting membrane potential. Rombo mukkiyam. Okay, it is minus 70. Sorry, minus 13 எழுதிருந்தேன். It is minus 70 millivolt. Okay, இப்போ ஏதோ ஒரு impulse வருதுப்பா, வெளிய இருந்து ஏதோ ஒரு impulse வருது, like touching of an hot object or someone hitting you and you have to turn back. There are impulses, right? So there is an stimulus that is coming. So there has to be an impulse that has to be generated. And for that impulse to be generated is what we call it as action potential. Okay, so what is this action potential, pasangla? You can see the sodium channels are opening. Okay, you can see the Na plus channels here, which were closed earlier. Okay, whenever there is an impulse, the sodium channels open. So sodium channels open and now more sodium enters your axon. Okay, so inside the axon now it is going to become positive. Outside it is going to become negative. So இத நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்னா depolarization ன்னு சொல்றோம். So முதல்ல நம்ம பார்த்தது polarization. இப்போ நம்ம பார்க்கிறது depolarization. Very important. The membrane potential changes to positive. It becomes positive inside and negative outside. And this is what we call it as action potential, which is plus 30 millivolt pasangla. ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். First, the membrane is resting. Okay, once there is an impulse, the sodium channels are opening. Once the sodium channels open, the membrane gets depolarized and the potential is from minus 70 to plus 30, it is increasing. So இததான் நம்ம வந்து depolarization ன்னு சொல்றோம். Okay, இப்போ this is generation. Now how is it conducted? See, generation வேற, conduction வேற, transmission வேற, மூணுமே வேற terms. இப்போ நம்ம இது வரைக்கும் பார்த்தது வந்து generation. Now let's see how it gets conducted. Okay, so now what happens? This will move here. Okay, and as a result this region becomes normal again. this is now going to get polarized. So depolarized, polarized, depolarized, polarized. There will be a change until it reaches the end of the axon. So on the axon or the end vara varikyo, in the changes will be happening in the axonal membrane. The sodium channels will open, sodium ions will enter. Okay, then this sodium channel will open and the sodium ions will enter, and as a result you will have the conduction of nerve impulse throughout the axon. That is very, very important, pasangla. That is what we call it as action potential. That is also called as depolarization. Okay, inga or important ana graph kuduthirken, idu clear ah padinga. So idu vandu minus 70 millivolt, the membrane is resting. Okay, there has been no action potential that is developed. There is an impulse. You can see how there is depolarization happening. Then it gets repolarized because it becomes negative inside again. Okay, then this is what we call it as hyperpolarization. So idha nama generation and conduction of impulse in solrom. What is it called? Generation and conduction of impulse. Any doubts, anybody? Those who are watching? இது புரிஞ்சதா? Action potential na enna, resting membrane potential na enna? Is it clear? Polarized, depolarized, repolarized. Okay, so this happens எப்போ வரைக்கும் நடக்கும்னா till it reaches the end of the axon. This process is going to continue, பசங்களா. Yes, good. Okay, இப்போ நம்ம we are going to discuss about transmission of impulse. சரி மேம், இப்போ இந்த impulse இந்த end of the axon வரைக்கும் வந்துருச்சு. இப்போ இந்த impulse வந்து எப்படி இன்னொரு நியூரானுக்கு transmit ஆக போகுது, அதுதான் transmission of impulse. Please try to understand the difference between generation, conduction and transmission. There are three important terms. Okay, ipo what is transmission? It is a transmission of the impulse from one neuron to the other neuron. That is what we call it as transmission, pasangla. Okay, so a synapse, this is very, very important. What is synapse? Now enna padichirupom synapse na, it is a junction between two neurons, right? And what is this junction made up of? This junction between two neurons is made up of presynaptic neuron, postsynaptic neuron and synaptic cleft. Okay, so this is your presynaptic neuron membrane. This is my postsynaptic. In the first arka neuron peru presynaptic, the second arka neuron peru postsynaptic, and the space which is there in the space irukla, and the space vandu nama synaptic cleft nu solluvom. All these three together we call it as synapse. Okay, so synapse la rendu vidham irukku. Very, very important questions. Okay, one is your electrical synapse, other one is your chemical synapse. Okay, so first let's talk about electrical synapse. What is electrical synapse? You can see this both the membranes are connected via gap junctions. So cell junction, animal structural organization in animals sollirpen, gap junctions are required for the communication between two cells in sollirpen, right? So here the gap junction is playing a very, very important role, where the electric current directly flows from one neuron into other neuron, okay, across these synapses, and it is very, very quick. Electrical synapse is very quick. Obviously electricity is very fast. So electrical transmission of impulse in the form of electric current சொல்ல முடியாது, அந்த அளவுக்குலாம் இல்ல, it is just in the mild electric shock னு சொல்லலாம். Okay, so transmission of an impulse across electrical synapse is very similar to impulse conduction along a single axon. Impulse transmission across an electrical synapse is always faster. Remember, they can give you a statement, chemical synapse is faster than electrical synapse. True or false? It is false, because electrical synapse is the one which is more faster than your chemical synapse. Okay, so electrical synapse are rare. Edu romba common? It's your chemical synapse. Electrical synapse are rare and they are very fast. Okay, so rare and fast. Can we continue, pasangla? Now let's try to decode chemical synapse. This is about your electrical synapse. Ipa nama paaka poradhu chemical synapse. Okay, so can anyone tell me in the chat section, what does a synapse constitute? What does a synapse constitute? Presynaptic membrane. Okay, I have a picture here. Presynaptic membrane, postsynaptic membrane and the synaptic cleft. All the three together we call it as synapse. Okay, which is the most common types of synapse? Chemical synapse. Which is the most fastest synapse? Electrical synapse. Yes, all these should be very very clear in your mind பசங்களா. இப்போ நம்ம ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியமான chemical synapse பத்தி பார்க்கலாம். So what is chemical synapse? I already discussed, right? So here you have chemicals called neurotransmitters are involved. So chemicals, என்ன மாதிரியான chemical பசங்களா? Neurotransmitters are involved here in the transmission of impulse from one neuron to another neuron. So imagine this is one neuron and this is another neuron. So there has to be transmission of impulse from this neuron to this neuron. Okay, if the transmission happens via neurotransmitter, then it is called chemical. If the transmission happens via electrical signal, then it is called electrical. Okay, two important things. Yes, the axon terminals contain vesicles filled with this neurotransmitter. So as and when, imagine there is a knob here, okay, the synaptic knob, which is rich in neurotransmitter. So as and when the potential, action potential reaches your synaptic knob, now the synaptic knob releases the neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft. Okay, it is releasing the neurotransmitter. You can see the synaptic vesicle. Okay, the synaptic vesicle is now releasing the neurotransmitter. Where it is releasing, pasangla? It is releasing into the synaptic cleft. Okay, what is the synaptic cleft? It's a small space that is present between two neurons. இப்போ இது ஒரு நியூரான் இது ஒரு நியூரான்னா அதுக்கு நடுவுல இருக்க ஸ்பேஸ் தான் நம்ம synaptic cleft ன்னு சொல்றோம். இப்போ இந்த நியூரான்ல சில receptors இருக்கும். There will be certain receptors which will bind to the neurotransmitter. Okay, you can see the neurotransmitter இதுதான் உங்க receptorனா. Okay, the neurotransmitter binds to the receptor and it causes the generation of action potential in the second neuron. புரிஞ்சதா பசங்களா? Did you guys understand what I'm trying to talk about? This is chemical synapse, okay? And this chemical synapse happens between neuron and a neuron, okay? Or a neuron and a muscle, okay? So neuron and a muscle, illa neuron and neuron kulla in the chemical synapse nadakalam. If it happens between neuron and muscle, we call that junction as neuromuscular junction. Okay, romba romba mukkiyamaana vishayam. Why do you think the muscles has to be stimulated? The muscle, only when the nerve gives signal, I will be able to hold this pen and write, or else I cannot write. Okay, that is called paralysis. If some part of your body doesn't work, it's called paralysis. That's because the junction, this neuromuscular junction has been adversely affected. Okay, that's all pasangla here. You need to remember about neuromuscular junction. You need to remember about neurotransmitters. Okay, and which is more faster, whether it's an electrical or chemical synapse, and what is actually happening. And I already told you some examples for neurotransmitter. I will tell it to you again. Glycine, GABA na enna? Gamma amino butyric acid. Okay, acetylcholine is a common example which is given in your chemical coordination also. Okay, these are all some of the examples of neurotransmitters. Ipo, vayasaaga, have you heard about Alzheimer's disease? Ellarum kelvi pattirukingla? Alzheimer's disease. Anybody have heard about Alzheimer's disease? Yes or no? What happens in Alzheimer's disease, pasangla? What happens? The neurons degenerate. Okay, the neurons degenerate agamodhu, they are not able to produce multiple neurotransmitters. And the chemicals avangala seriya produce panna mudiyala. Okay, and that's why they have dementia. Dementia na enna? Less memory kammi aite varum. At one stage they will even forget who they are, right? Yes, so this is the diagram. Romba important ana diagram pasangala, kandipa exam la kekla. So this is how your axon is ending. This is your synaptic knob. Inside your synaptic knob you have a synaptic vesicle. The synaptic vesicle contains neurotransmitter. Once the action potential reaches the synaptic vesicle is going to release its neurotransmitter into the synaptic cleft, and now these neurotransmitters are going to go and bind to the membrane, or that is on the postsynaptic membrane. If a second liu, there will be action potential that is generated. Romba easy ah naamu vechikkanona. Passing the ball, neenga ella velaadirpingala, you all would have played it in your school days. So what will happen? You will keep passing the ball from one person to other person. The same thing is happening here. What we are passing here, we are passing the impulse. The impulse is passed from one neuron to other neuron until it reaches your CNS. Yes, clear? Can we continue? Now we will move on to the most important part, that is your brain. Okay, so where is this brain located? All of you know it is located in cranium, right? And this cranium is protected by your skull. And this brain has three protective region. Brain brain நீங்க பார்த்திருக்கீங்க human evolutionல கூட பார்த்திருப்பீங்க. Why this modern man so evolved? Because his brain is so evolved, பசங்களா. So within, you won't believe, 0 to 6 years, the first 6 years of the child, the brain development is maximum, பசங்களா. அதுக்கு தான் இந்த 18 இயர்ஸ்க்கு அப்புறம் மேபி in 30 35 you go and join a new course, you find it so difficult to learn. Okay, but when you are in a very young age, your brain is very easy. It can access to different information. And there is a saying, இந்த 0 ல இருந்து 6 வருஷம் வரைக்கும் ஒரு குழந்தைனால 6 லாங்குவேஜ் கத்துக்க முடியுமா பசங்களா? The brain has the capacity to learn 6 languages up to the age of 6 years. Yes or no, pasangla? So that is a capacity of human brain. Okay, yeah. Ipo human brain pati paakala. It is a central information processing organ of our body. Like how you have CPU, right, for a system. How you have a CEO for our office. You have your brain, which is going to control and coordinate every other activity of your body, voluntary, involuntary, everything. Okay, it controls the voluntary movements, balance of the body, functioning of the vital involuntary organs, thermoregulation, hunger, thirst, circadian rhythm of our body, activities of several endocrine glands, human behavior, everything is controlled by your brain. Adha solluvaangala, where there is a will, there is a way, right? So there is one book, Secret patti, adha patti nariya vaati pesirken. What you think, you become, right? So the thinking is happening where? The thinking is happening in your brain, pasanga. Okay, so it's a site for all these. What is thermoregulation? Regulation of temperature. Hunger, all of you know. Thirst, all of you know. What is the circadian rhythm? It is a biological clock that is present inside you, which will make you sleep during night and stay awake during day, right? That is what we call it as circadian rhythm. Okay, இதெல்லாம் பத்தி இன்னும் டீடைலா படிக்கலாம். And ரொம்ப முக்கியம், it is a site for processing of vision. உங்க ஐஸ் மட்டும் இருந்தா பத்தாது. I need to have a visual cortex in my cerebrum, which is going to process it. Okay, that's very important. Hearing, speech, memory, intelligence, emotion, and thoughts. Every one of us, pasangla, I'm not joking, every one of us have the same kind of brain, right? Few of us use it for a good purpose, few of us don't use it. Okay, intelligence and IQ, intelligence quotient, that's all related to your brain. Okay, now let's talk about how is this brain protected. Your heart was protected with pericardium, your lungs was protected with pleural cavity, and your brain is protected by a structure called meninges. Okay, in the meninges la 3 layer irukku. You have the outer dura mater. Listen to me very carefully. Yes, manifestation. Yes, manifestation nu solluvaanga. Yes, then you have arachnoid, then you have pia mater. Okay, so from outside to inside, remember it, outer dura mater, middle arachnoid, and the inner pia mater. Okay, these are the 3 regions of your brain. Okay, idha nama meninges nu solrom. So in the meninges ku nadula pasangla, there is a fluid. Okay, there is a fluid that flows. Can anyone tell me what is the fluid that flows between this meninges? Can anyone watching the live? There is a fluid that flows between these layers, meninges. What is that fluid? It is called CSF, pasangla. What does CSF stands for? Cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so the cerebrospinal fluid is the fluid that flows in between your meninges. Okay, and it also continues till your spinal cord. So அது வந்து ஒரு relay மாதிரி. It acts like a relay between your brain and your spinal cord. Okay, புரிஞ்சுதா பசங்களா? What is CSF? What is the function of this meninges and CSF, pasangla? If there is any accidental hurt to your skull, right? So this meninges and CSF acts like a shock absorber. Okay, they prevent any major damage to your brain. Okay, enna pannom? They act as a shock absorber. Okay, protects or prevents from any kind of major injury. And there is something called as meningitis. கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களா? Have anyone heard about it? Meningitis. brain fever கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களா? Have you guys heard about brain fever? meningitis கேள்விப்படாட்டிலும் கண்டிப்பா brain fever கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீங்க. நிறைய பேர் சொல்லியிருப்பாங்க. குழந்தைங்கள்ல இது ரொம்ப நடக்கும். Right? So this brain fever or meningitis is the infection of the meninges. இந்த meningesல ஒரு bacterial infection இருக்கும். That is what we call it as meningitis பசங்களா. இல்ல அத brain fever ன்னு கூட சொல்லுவோம். Okay, so this is about some of the important things. Then you have brain. Brain is divided into 3 important regions: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Okay, so நம்ம இந்த forebrain என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்? Can anyone tell me what is forebrain also called? Forebrain is called prosencephalon. என்னன்னு சொல்றோம் அத? prosencephalon ன்னு சொல்றோம். Okay, then you have midbrain. Midbrain என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்? mesencephalon ன்னு சொல்றோம். Sorry. Then you have hindbrain. Hindbrain is called rhombencephalon. Okay, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Very, very important. இப்போ நம்ம forebrain பத்தி தான் நிறைய இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் இருக்கு. பாருங்க பசங்களா, அவங்க NCERT ல ரொம்ப கம்மியான இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் தான் இருக்கு. We will stick on to that. Okay, yes. So shall we move on to forebrain? Can I get a victory sign in the chat section? Yes. So what does the forebrain consist of? Forebrain consists of cerebrum and it is the largest portion of your brain. நீங்க உங்க skull open பண்ண உடனே உங்களுக்கு தெரியுற மொத பார்ட் வந்து cerebrum தான் பசங்களா. Okay, sorry, forebrain தான், even cerebrum. Okay, so cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus, மூணு region இருக்கு. Cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. These are the 3 important regions, okay, of your cerebrum, of your forebrain. Okay, இப்போ the cerebrum is the largest portion of the human brain. This cerebrum is divided into 2 hemispheres pasangla. You can see here I have shown it here, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. Right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere, and both these cerebral hemisphere are connected together by a nerve like fibrous tract called corpus callosum. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம். The right and the left cerebral hemisphere are connected. How are they connected? Via your corpus callosum. ரொம்ப முக்கியமான இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் ஆன விஷயம் என்னன்னா பசங்களா, your right hemisphere, okay, listen to me very carefully, your right hemisphere controls the left part of your body. Okay, left part. என்னோட ரைட் ஹெமிஸ்பியர் வந்து என்னோட லெஃப்ட் பார்ட் ஆஃப் யுவர் பாடியை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணும். அதே மாதிரி my left hemisphere will control my right part of my body. Okay, ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். இது ஏன் நான் இவ்வளவு ஷார்ட்டா சொல்றேன்னா, சில பேருக்கு பிரெயின்ல கிளாட்ஸ் நடக்கும், ரைட்? connect with corpus luteum. Yes, absolutely correct. சில பேருக்கு பசங்களா இந்த லெஃப்ட் பிரெயின்ல ஏதாச்சும் clotting இருந்துச்சுன்னா their right side of their brain, right side of their body gets paralyzed. Paralyzedனா என்ன? அந்த part of the body they cannot even move. Okay, அதே மாதிரி இந்த பக்கம் உங்க லெஃப்ட் சைடுல நடந்தா ரைட் சைடு அஃபெக்ட் ஆகும், ரைட் சைடு ஆஃப் த பிரெயின்ல நடந்தா லெஃப்ட் சைடு அஃபெக்ட் ஆகும். Did everyone understand what I am trying to tell you? புரிஞ்சதா பசங்களா? Any doubts here? Any doubts? Next, the layer of cells which covers the cerebral hemisphere is called cerebral cortex. ரெண்டு region இருக்கு, outer cortex and inner medullary region. Okay, so the cerebral cortex is referred to as the gray matter. So இங்க வெளியே தெரியுதுல, அத வந்து நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்னா gray matter ன்னு சொல்றோம். Okay, and very very important, நீங்க brain open பண்ணீங்கன்னா அது அப்படியே ஃபுல்லா இப்படி எல்லாம் இருக்காது, ஸ்ட்ரைட்டாலாம் இருக்காது. Okay, it will be folded, it will be into numerous folds like this. Okay, and that folding is what we call it as cerebral cortex pasangla. Okay, so here the neuron cell bodies are concentrated here, giving the color. We spoke about the cell body, we spoke about the Nissel's granule. They are all present in this particular region. Okay, the cerebral cortex is ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியமான விஷயம். They contain 3 kind of area. Okay, one is motor area. Motorனா என்ன? They are involved in movement. Okay, then you have sensory area. Okay, then you have association area. Motor area, sensory area and association area. Yes, what is motor area? They are involved in movement, be it voluntary or involuntary. Okay, they are involved in movement. Okay, sensory area. They are involved in senses. We all have 5 senses. Correct? So, can you name the senses? Adu vandu eppadi medical ah eppadi solluvom? Vision. Okay, olfactory, auditory, okay, touch, and gustatory ன்னு சொல்லுவோம். எல்லாமே explain பண்றேன். First vision na enna? Paakradhu. Right? Olfaction na enna? Smell. Right? Audition na enna? Hearing. Touch, your skin. Gustatory na taste. Okay? These are the 5 very important senses. புரிஞ்சதா பசங்களா? Then you have association area. இந்த association area நான் என்ன சொல்லிருக்காங்கன்னா, these region are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. Okay, these region are called as association area and are responsible for complex functions like intersensory association, memory and communication. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப important. ஒரு வேர்டும் ரொம்ப முக்கியம் பசங்களா. Yes, let's talk about memory, communication. எப்படி மேம் இந்த சென்ஸுக்கும் அப்புறம் மோட்டருக்கும் என்ன மேம் கனெக்ஷன்? அது ஒரு பெஸ்ட் எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்றேன் பசங்களா. பின்னாடில இருந்து let's make it a little more funner. பின்னாடில இருந்து யாரோ உங்களை கல்லு தூக்கி அடிக்கிறாங்க, right? Just imagine. So what happens? It hurts, right? So that is going to help in sensing. Your skin will come here. Okay, so it will sense that there is some danger. So immediately what will happen? You will turn. You will turn your body. What kind of it is? It is a voluntary movement. So that is where your motor area comes into picture. So that is what we call as intersensory area or association area. Amava illaya pasangla? Do you all understand what I am trying to tell? A sensory and a motor area both need to work hand in hand. Okay, to perform a response. Very important. Okay, இன்னொரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்றேன். எப்பயோ பார்த்திருப்பீங்க அந்த படத்தை. ஒரு வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி கூட பார்த்திருப்பீங்க. ஆனா அந்த படம் உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருக்கும், right? So it would have stayed in your memory, right? It's a visual memory. You're seeing it. So it's a sense. So it is going and staying back in your memory, right? And you can recreate that. You can actually go and trigger that memory and you can remember it very well. So that is what I call it as memory, right? Communication. நீங்க யாராச்சும் தெரிஞ்சாதானே அவங்க கிட்ட போய் பேசுவீங்க. Will you go and talk to any stranger? No, right? Will you guys go and talk to any stranger? No. How will you know this person is this? Because in your brain, that person would have been, என்ன சொல்றது, ஏதோ ஒரு formல they would have been stored. Yes, right? That's very, very important. That is what we call communication. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம் பசங்களா. ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கான விஷயம் இதெல்லாம். Okay? So fiber of the tracts are covered with myelin sheath. அப்பனா என்ன மாதிரி neurons? They are all myelinated neurons. இன்னொரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கான விஷயம் சொல்றேன். This is not there in your syllabus, but I always talk about it. There is something called as right brain stimulation. Okay? So இது என்னன்னா ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கான விஷயம். நம்ம எல்லாருமே predominant எல்லாருமே including me, we all use our left brain. நானும் இது வந்து படிச்சு தான் தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டேன். So we all use our left brain. Left brainல என்ன இருக்கு பசங்களா? படிக்கிறது, மகப் பண்றது, எழுதுறது, right? We don't think, we don't reason out, we don't have that logical thinking. That logical thinking is with your right brain. Okay, right brain is involved in logical thinking, reasoning, problem solving. ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் வந்துட்டா நம்மலாம் பயந்துருவோம். Okay, but this right brain வந்து நம்ம கரெக்டா ட்ரிகர் பண்ணி அதுக்கான எக்ஸசைஸ் கொடுத்தோம்னா this right brain can get stimulated. Okay, now many schools, okay, and many children க்கு 0 to 6 years இருக்க children க்கு they tend to stimulate this right brain. They try to make your right brain work more. 6 வயசு வரைக்கும் தான் இந்த ரைட் பிரெயின் ஒர்க் ஆகும். 6 வயசு கழிச்சு இந்த ரைட் பிரெயின் ஒர்க் ஆகாதுன்னு சொல்ல முடியாது, டெவலப் ஆகும். ஓகே, so until 6 years there will be very good development in the right brain. So what they are trying to do in nowadays, especially இந்தியாவே வந்துருச்சு இந்த ரைட் பிரெயின் எஜுகேஷன். இந்த ஃபிளாஷ் கார்ட்ஸ் காமிக்கிறது, ஓகே, நிறைய மெமரி வந்து இன்டியூஸ் பண்றது, that is all coming under right brain education. Okay, those children will have better reasoning capacity, better logical approach, better problem solving skills. Okay, என்னையெல்லாம் கொண்டு போய் ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு தெரியாத இடத்துல விட்டீங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, it will be very difficult for me to come out of it. But these days children, even you guys will have that particular notion to come out of a problem. And this generation, that is after 2016-17, அவங்கலாம் இன்னும் பெட்டரா இருப்பாங்க, right? Because the education model is changing in many schools. And this is very important பசங்களா. நான் என்ன சொல்ல வரேன்னா right brain is involved in problem solving, logical thinking, okay, and ரொம்ப என்ன சொல்றது பதட்டப்படாம ஒரு சுச்சுவேஷனை ஹேண்டில் பண்றதுக்கு தெரியணும்னா அது வந்து right brain தான். Okay, yes, now we shall continue. This is extra information just for your knowledge. Okay, இப்போ நம்ம இத பார்க்கலாம். Forebrain இன்னும் continue பண்ணலாம். Okay, the fibers of tracts are covered with myelin sheath which constitute the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so in the outer part, in the axon வந்து it is in the outside, that is in your cortex, and you have this myelin sheath which is in your inner part. They give an opaque white appearance to the layer and hence it is called as white matter. So when you open your brain, outside it will be gray, inside it will be white. I use my both. Oh, nice. Very good, very good. You can write with my left, you can write with your left hand and draw with my right. Wow, super. Very nice. Nice to hear. Yeah. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி நம்ம வந்து கிட்ஸுக்கு வந்து சின்ன பசங்களுக்கு அப்பத்துலேருந்தே அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ட்ரைனிங் கொடுத்துட்டே வந்தோம்னா நீங்கள் வந்து கஷ்டப்படவே தேவையில்லை, அவங்கள படின்னு சொல்லவே தேவையில்லை. They themselves will get interested and they will do it. And all this child prodigies, they say, no, they are all developed by this. சின்ன வயசுலேருந்தே ட்ரைனிங் கொடுப்பாங்க. Yes. Yeah. So we will move on to it. So என்ன சொல்லியிருக்கேன்னா the outer region is called as gray matter and the inner region of your cerebral hemisphere is called white matter. Okay, yes, the cerebrum wraps round a structure called thalamus. Wrapna என்னப்பா இது வந்து என்னோட thalamus. The cerebrum is wrapping around my thalamus like a gift. Okay, so which is a major coordinating center for sensory and motor signal. ரொம்ப முக்கியம். Function of thalamus, it is a coordinating relay between sensory and motor signals. Okay, next, another very important part of your brain is hypothalamus. Hypona enna keela, right? So thalamus inga irukuna adu keela. This is your thalamus. Below the thalamus I have hypothalamus. In the hypothalamus la irundhu kandipa question kekkalam. Can anyone tell me what are the hypothalamic hormones? Hormones padichirukkonga hypothalamic hormones patti solunga. Okay, it lies at the base of the thalamus. It contains a number of centers which control your body temperature, urge for eating and drinking. It also contains several group of neurosecretory cells which secretes hypothalamic hormone. Okay, so முதல்ல உங்க body temperature யார் regulate பண்றா? Hypothalamus. Okay, this urge for eating and drinking. Urge for eating வந்து நம்ம appetite ன்னு சொல்றோம். What is appetite? My appetite is good. My appetite is good means what? I eat when I am hungry. Proper-ஆ நான் சாப்பிடுறேன். நிறையாவும் சாப்பிடல, கம்மியும் சாப்பிடல. Okay, that is what we call good appetite. My appetite is not good. What do you mean by that? Either you are eating too much or either you are not at all eating. And who is all responsible for this? Your hypothalamus. Right? Your hypothalamus is very, very important. And for drinking also, தண்ணி நமக்கு நிறைய தாகம் எடுக்குது. Thirst. Okay, that is also responsible. இப்போ எதுக்கு உங்களுக்கு வந்து வெயில் காலத்துல ரொம்ப தண்ணி தாகம் எடுக்குது? Because your hypothalamus knows that your outside temperature is very high. Okay, two, there will be a lot of dehydration. So it is actually inducing a lot of thirst. So you drink a lot of water and keep yourself hydrated. நான் கேட்டதுக்கு இன்னும் ஆன்சர் வரல. Neurosecretory cells. இது ஒரு பக்கம் இருக்கு. Hypothalamus வந்து dual function. One, it controls temperature, appetite, then drinking, eating and all that, right? Other thing, it also has a neurosecretory cell. It produces hypothalamic hormones. Okay, so what are the hypothalamic hormones? Anyone? You have GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. Okay, then you have ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Okay, and you have oxytocin. All these. Happy hormone னு சொல்லுவோம் நம்ம oxytocin, right? It's also called birth hormone. It's also called happy hormone. Yes. Can we continue பசங்களா? Now, let's move on to this. இந்த 3 லைன் ரொம்ப முக்கியம். நிறைய questions வந்திருக்கு. Listen to it very, very carefully. The inner parts of the cerebral hemisphere and a group of deep associated structures like amygdala, hippocampus form a complex structure called limbic lobe or limbic system. So what comprises your limbic system pasangla? So your inner parts of cerebral hemisphere like amygdala and hippocampus. Okay, you can see here, this is amygdala and this is hippocampus. And hippocampus is also said to be a site of memory. Okay, memory is very, memory நிறைய இருக்கவங்களுக்கு இந்த hippocampus நல்லா work ஆகுதுன்னு அர்த்தம். Okay, yes, along with the hypothalamus. So this limbic system, listen to me very very carefully. So limbic systemல வந்து hypothalamus கிடையாது. limbic systemல என்ன, amygdala and hippocampus. Okay, now this amygdala, hippocampus and hypothalamus, all these three together, it is involved in the regulation of sexual behavior, expression of emotional reaction. Okay, what are the emotions we all exhibit? எல்லாருமே emotional தான் பசங்களா. நீங்க சொல்றீங்களோ சொல்லலையோ, நீங்களும் emotional தான், நானும் emotional தான். All of us have the same emotions. How a person will become successful? When a person knows how to regulate their emotions. Correct? So, a very bad day, but still we get up and go to work. We still get up and go to school. That is what we call as emotional regulation. And who is responsible for that emotional regulation? Your limbic system and hypothalamus. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப ரெண்டு முக்கியமான organ பசங்களா. So, excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, motivation. So, positive ஒரு இடத்துல இருந்தா வருது, negative thoughts ஒரு இடத்துல இருந்தா வருது. See how human brain is. இதை நல்லா படிக்கணும், நல்லா நீட் எக்ஸாம்ல நல்ல மார்க் வாங்கணும், லைஃப்ல சக்சஸ்ஃபுல் ஆகணும்ன்றதும் ஒரே இடத்துல இருந்தா வருது. என்னப்பா வாழ்க்கை இது இவ்வளோ கஷ்டமா இருக்கு, இவ்வளோ எல்லாமே இவ்வளோ தோல்வியா இருக்கு, அதுவும் ஒரே இடத்துல இருந்தா வருது. ஆமாவா இல்லையா பசங்களா? Do you all feel that? Do you all find that so exciting? Right? Both the emotions are coming from the same region. So it's all in the way you train your brain. Okay, so that's very important பசங்களா. இது வந்து கிளியரா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. லிம்பிக் சிஸ்டம்னா என்ன? amygdala and hippocampus. Okay, and your amygdala, hippocampus and your hypothalamus together, they are going to control all the emotions, emotional center of your brain ன்னு கூட சொல்லலாம். Next we have midbrain. Midbrain na enna? It is located between the thalamus and hypothalamus. உங்க thalamusக்கும் hypothalamusக்கும் நடுவுல இருக்கு. Okay, a cerebral canal, இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு canal இருக்கு. It is called cerebral aqueduct. Okay, a cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. Okay, and the dorsal portion of the midbrain, இது வந்து ventral, பின்னாடி வந்து dorsal, right? The dorsal portion of the midbrain contains 4 lobe-like structure. அதாவது 4 lobe இருக்குன்னு சொல்றாங்க. Okay, and what are those lobes called? Corpora, quadrigemina. எப்படி இதை ஞாபகம் வச்சுப்பீங்க? Quadrina என்ன? 4. Right? So, where is corpora quadrigemina present? It's present in your midbrain. Where is cerebral aqueduct present? It is present in my midbrain. Yes. Yes, it is located between the hypothalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain or hindbrain. So, நம்ம midbrain என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்? mesencephalon கூட சொல்றோம். இந்த midbrainன்றது ரொம்ப சின்ன region. Okay. Next, let's move on to hindbrain or hindbrain, however you pronounce it as. இந்த hindbrainல வந்து 3 region இருக்கு. pons, cerebellum and medulla. என்னென்ன இருக்கு பசங்களா? pons varoli இருக்கு. We call it as pons varoli. Okay, cerebellum and medulla. And medulla என்னன்னு சொல்றோம்? medulla oblongata ன்னு கூட சொல்றோம். It is located here. இந்த இடத்துல கரெக்ட்டா நம்ம கழுத்துக்கு பின்னாடி இருக்கு. Pons consist of fibrous tract that interconnect the different regions of the brain. So in the pons ன்றது ஒரு relay station மாதிரி. Okay, it is going to interconnect all the different parts of your brain. Yes. Okay, cerebellum. The cerebellum வந்து we call it as little cerebrum. Little cerebrum, because it looks more like your cerebrum, because it is having a highly convoluted surface in order to provide additional space for many neurons. நிறைய neurons வைக்கிறதுக்காக this cerebellum is highly convoluted. Okay, so the medulla of the brain is connected to the spinal cord. இந்த medulla எது connect ஆகும்? டைரக்டா நம்ம spinal cord connect ஆகும். Okay, then the medulla contains centers. Very important. They contain centers for respiration. நம்ம படிச்சிருக்கோம் respiration chapterல respiratory rhythm center. உங்க ponsல pneumotaxic center இருக்கு. Do you all remember? Yes. So the medulla also it contains cardiovascular reflex, gastric secretion. Simple question கேட்கலாம். Which of the following part of the brain controls respiratory, cardiovascular, gastric function? It is your medulla. Okay, the major regions make up the brain stem. Okay, what is making the brain stem? Midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. Okay, so this is again a very, very important question. Brain stem. Brain stem la enna irukku pasangala? Mid brain, pons and medulla. These are the three important regions that are present in your brain stem. Adu stem mari irukum. Picture kaamikira ungalku clear ah puriyum. Okay, this is the picture. This is your NCERT picture. So let's decode it one by one. This is your forebrain. Forebrain is made up of a largest portion of the brain called cerebrum. The cerebrum has highly convoluted surfaces and we call it as cerebral cortex, outer cortex, inner medulla. The cortex is grey and the medulla is white. And there are two cerebral hemispheres, the right and the left cerebral hemisphere, which are connected by a band of nerve fibers called corpus callosum. Then you have your midbrain, okay? Then you have your hindbrain. On the cerebrum, in your forebrain, you have thalamus and hypothalamus, okay? Then you have a small midbrain where you have your cerebral aqueduct and corpora quadrigemina. Yeah, ma'am, inga corpora quadrigemina kaamikla because it's present on the dorsal side, okay? Yes. Control balance and posture. Medulla contains a center which control respiration, cardiovascular and gastric reflexes. Very good, very good. Okay, the last one is your hindbrain. The hindbrain contains three important regions, pons, cerebellum and medulla. So this is your cerebellum, okay, and this is your pons and this is your medulla. That's all, pasanga. Avladhaan chapter mudinjiruchu. Now you guys are going to answer your PYQs, okay? So idha thavara edach keka porangala? 99% kandipa keka maatanga because the syllabus is very clear and I have referred to your new NCERT as well as old NCERT. Okay, என்னென்னல extra இருக்கோ எல்லாமே cover பண்ணியாச்சு. Okay, now let us see the PYQs. Okay, let me see how many of you will answer this. The parts of the human brain that helps in regulation of sexual behavior, expression of excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, etc. What is controlling? 2023 la கேட்டிருக்காங்க. பாப்போம் எத்தனை பேர் எத்தனை விதமான ஆன்சர் சொல்றீங்கன்னு பாப்போம். Limbic system, hypothalamus, corpora quadrigemina and hippocampus, brainstem and epithalamus, corpus callosum and thalamus. I told you this very clearly. I told you. சொல்லுங்க ஆன்சர் என்ன? Yes, pasangla, answer is A, limbic system and hypothalamus. Yes, A. So what is this limbic system? Those of you who are watching, what is limbic system? It is consisting of amygdala, I hope the spelling is wrong, correct, okay, and hippocampus. Okay, so your amygdala, hippocampus and hypothalamus together regulate your sexual behavior, expression of excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, etc. And this is directly from your NCERT. Direct cut, copy, paste panni inga potrukanga. Okay, can we move on to the next question? Can I get a victory sign in the chat section? Okay, then 2022 regarding synapse. Electric current can flow directly from one neuron into the other across the electrical synapse. Chemical synapses use neurotransmitter. Impulse transmission across a chemical synapse is always faster than across an electrical synapse. The membranes of presynaptic and postsynaptic neuron are in close proximity in an electrical synapse. What is incorrect? Paapom. Idu solunga. Yaralla solringan paapom. Very superb. Very, very correct answer. It is option C, pasangla. It is not faster. It is slower. நான் நிறைய வாட்டி அது stress பண்ணி சொன்னேன். Yes, electrical is faster. அது ஒரு பாயிண்ட் உங்களுக்கு எது தெரியுதோ தெரியலையோ அது ஒரு பாயிண்ட் தெரிஞ்சா you can answer this question and you can get 4 marks which will make you so many ranks ahead. ஆமாவா இல்லையா பசங்களா? Yes. So the right answer is option C, pasangla. மிச்ச எல்லா ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்டுமே கரெக்ட் தான். Chemical synapse use neurotransmitter, absolutely correct. Okay, this also is correct. The electrical impulse moves from one neuron to other neuron very, very easily. Okay, this is also correct. Yeah. Next question. Which part of the brain is responsible for thermoregulation? Pandit படிச்சிட்டோம், ரொம்ப நிறைய படிச்சிட்டோம். 2019 ல கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Yes, no doubt. Hypothalamus is involved in thermoregulation. தூக்கத்துல இருந்து எழுப்பி கேட்டாலும் நீங்க சொல்லணும், right? Yes. So we shall move on to the next question. Nistle's body are mainly composed of the NCERT illa but 2018 la ketirukanga, and I also mentioned it in today's class. So it is made up of ribosomes and RER because they are going to be involved in protein synthesis. So what happened here? One second. Okay, wait, we'll get back to this question later. Next, receptor sites for neurotransmitters are present on. Where are the receptor sites present? So you have your presynaptic. One second. The question answer solunga, adukula diagram varanjirren. Presynaptic, postsynaptic. Correct? So where are the receptors present? By now all of you should have told the answer. Screen is not clear. Even now it is not clear. Is it the same for everyone? Is it the same for everyone? Screen okay va? Clear arka? Please do respond. Okay, fine. So enga pa irukku the receptor site romba easy pasangala. Postsynaptic membrane. So go back to your NCERT adla irundirukom. Postsynaptic membrane la da you will have receptors. Okay. Next question. Which of the following regions of the brain is incorrectly paired with its function? Cerebellum, language comprehension. Corpus callosum, communication between the left and the right cerebral cortices. Cerebrum, calculation and contemplation. Medulla oblongata, homeostatic control. Which is wrong? Which is incorrect in ketirukanga? It is A. Cerebellum. Cerebellum, is it involved in language comprehension? No, it is your cerebrum that is involved in language comprehension. They will tell you, they will let you know. Okay, 𝒚𝒐𝒖𝒓. Yes. Purunjada? Can we move on to the next question? Then, this is also a very easy question. Stimulation of a muscle fiber by a motor neuron occurs at. Motor neuron ko, ungaloda muscle ko irka junction pair enna? Very easy. Neuromuscular junction. Okay. Injury localized to the hypothalamus would most likely disrupt. ஹைப்போதலாமஸ்ல ஏதோ ஒரு இன்ஜுரி ஆயிருக்கு, ஏதோ ஒரு ஆக்சிடென்ட்ல ஹைப்போதலாமஸ் டேமேஜ் ஆயிடுச்சு. அப்ப எது வந்து ரொம்ப டிஸ்ரப்ட் ஆகும்? யுவர் ஷார்ட் டேர்ம் மெமரி, coordination during locomotion, executive functions such as decision making, regulation of body temperature. Obviously, it is option D. Okay, இவ்வளவுதான் பசங்களா. I think there is one more question. No, there is no one more question. So this is about the entire chapter. Okay, idha thavara I am very very sure, 99% sure that there is nothing going to be asked extra. Okay, I hope this session was useful and you are very lucky that there is no sense organs. Okay, na sense eyes kuda padichiralam. Ears la dhaan nariya confusions irukum students ku. Amava illaya pasangala, those who have studied ears before, can you just share how was studying ears? Ears is difficult when compared to eyes. Eyes kuda okay. Ears la nariya confusion, vestibular apparatus, organ of corti, nariya confusions irukkum. Okay, yes. So I hope this session was useful. How did you guys like the session? Please do let me know in the comment section. And if you guys want me to take any other chapter as a live, please do let me know in the comment section. Do like, share, subscribe. And one more thing, pasangla, if you want all these PYQs, it is available in the description that is given below. You can go get it downloaded. Yes, please do leave a comment. Thank you so much. All I need is your motivation to do better and better every day. Thank you. Thank you, crazy dude. Thank you, everyone. Bye.